Welcome everybody. In this video, we're going to take a look at Marten. However, we're going to take a look at its second side, acting as an event store on top of PostgreSQL database. In the previous video, we've taken a look at it acting as a document database. This time, it's an event store. Links to the previous video, documentation, everything is in the description and perhaps a pinned comment, the usual place. Same as before, we will start with a fresh project, no packages yet, and I have a single connection string already typed out here. PostgreSQL installed. Let's go ahead, get our package manager open, get Marten or search for Marten, get the latest version. For me, it's 5.5.2. Let's go ahead and install it into our project. Once that's going to be done, you want to come back to your program CS and register the service. So builder, services, add Marten. We will then supply some options, place a semicolon on the end there, and let's just specify a connection. So builder, configuration, and then get connection string, and we want to go for the default one, which is my connection string. So again, we're at the same place where we've just set up Marten. It's connecting to the database. Now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and write some events to the database. By the way, my database, which is running, again, this test database, I don't have anything there yet, right? So I've just connected to my PostgreSQL database, said create database test, and connected to it. So it's pretty much a fresh database. Application's not running yet. We will create a new endpoint. We'll call it map_get, and we will do the infamous cart example. Let's go ahead and get a function body in here and output created on the end. Now, I want to get a few events going. Okay, so public record added to cart, do string name of the product and quantity. We will then do added shipping information, struggle with spelling, but instead of added, let's do updated, and then nothing too complicated. Again, this is demo quality. We will have address and phone number or email. Now that we got the two events, same as before, I'm going to inject an iDocument session into my handle here. I'll take the session and I can explicitly say on the events either start a new stream, so start an aggregate. This is a single entity that is represented by a string of events that is happening. So each individual cart is an individual stream or an individual aggregate. Okay, otherwise you can just start appending. However, you will need to supply your own ID for the stream, and if the stream doesn't exist yet, it will be created. I will opt in for starting a new stream, so not the generic type, otherwise it tries to tie a stream to a projection. I don't need that. Let's go ahead, place semicolon here, and we'll just do add the to cart. Pants, we can add some pants. Let's have 2 pants. And then new updated shipping information. We'll say 42 street and phone number, I don't know, 12345. So we've appended some events. We will then have a result. On the result, you will be able to find things like the stream ID, etc. So if you want to add some kind of additional events or generate additional events, you have some metadata about the stream that you're adding events to. Anyway, once you've added your events, you want to go into session again and just save changes async, same as you do with an entity framework database. And don't forget to make your method asynchronous. So that's there. Let's go ahead and run this with .NET Watch no hot reload. Last time it wasn't a very pleasant experience. So this is now running. Let's go ahead and go to cart. Same as before, what Marten is going to do is it's going to generate a lot of things for you. So now if we check for relations, it is going to create 5 additional tables. Empty events, this is where all of the events go. Empty streams are individual streams within that long event sequence. So for example, when we create a cart, that is going to be a single stream. So speaking of that, let's go ahead and select all from empty streams. And this is the identifier for our stream. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that because I'm about to write some projections, because I want to go ahead and take these events and put them into some kind of projection. Okay, so let's go ahead and make some simple projection. I'll just call this P1. Let's not forget to add class. But really simply, the only requirement that you need is you're gonna need to add an identifier on here, otherwise it's gonna crash. So you need a GUID ID, or if you're using a string strategy, you're gonna need to set this to string. Otherwise, let's create a list. This is gonna be string and products. Okay, now how do you apply these events to this projection? With Marten, the convention is you create a method, public void apply, right? So you have to have an apply method, and then this method has to consume the added to cart or any other event name. So this will be E for event, and then products, let's go ahead and initialize it, otherwise it's going to explode. We want to say add E dot name of the product. So these are going to be the individual products that we're adding to the cart. This is also known as a self-aggregating projection, so a projection that is able to consume the events itself. We're also going to take a look at a couple of other projections, such as projectors, but that's going to come in just a second. So let's create P1 for our P1 projection. Again, we will supply a body here. We will use an iQuery session for reading from the database. We'll go to session, events, and we will use aggregate stream async. Again, you can also use iDocument session for reading as well. However, you cannot do writing with iQuery session. So aggregate stream async, we want to aggregate it into P1, say what type you want to aggregate it into, and then the identifier. So a new GUID, actually put spaces in correct places and supply your identifier. Okay. Finally, let's not forget to return this. And that's pretty much it. Now coming back to the browser, let's go ahead and go to P1, and there we'll have it, the identifier for the projection and then the products. If we write another method just so we can have an additional product, we will call this append, and we are going to append an additional product. Instead of pants, we're gonna use something like a t-shirt. We will grab 3 t-shirts, remove the comma on the end, and one thing that you're gonna need to do here is you're also going to need to specify the ID of the stream that you're applying to. We're not using the result here, so let's go ahead and remove it. So append is going to apply this event, or I can supply more events like that, as many as I want, and all of them will be applied in the same order to this stream. I'm only going to be applying one event, so let's go ahead and return to this scenario. Coming back to the browser, let's go ahead and select append. That's done. Now we're going to go to P1. And there we go, we can see the additional product here. Now, coming around to other projections that you may have, this being a self-aggregating projection, you can have projectors, things that project projections. So let's create one of those. We'll create a public class P2, and we're gonna create a projector. So public class projector, and it's gonna inherit from a single stream aggregation, which is going to be projecting the P2. So single stream aggregation, you can kind of figure out a couple of things from here. Single as in single stream. There is going to be a multiple stream aggregation as well that we can look at, but we're aggregating a single stream into this. We follow a similar convention where we want to apply this event, but to what? We have to accept the instance of what we're applying to as an additional parameter. And this is the snapshot that we're working with, or the instance. Now for P2, let's go ahead and copy these, and instead of the list, I will use a total quantity or something like that. So total quantity, we're gonna come here and we'll say snapshot total quantity plus equals e.quantity, and there we go. So our projection and our projector. One thing that we're not going to be able to do is we're not going to be able to just say P2 and just aggregate our second projection. It doesn't know to automatically tie P2 to the projector, so we have to register the projector as a projection. So take the name, you go to the configuration, you say projections, you add a projection of this type, and additionally, you can specify what type of projection it is. We will take a look at these in a second, but for now, this is it. So let's go ahead and take a look at this one, P2, and there we go. Total quantity is 5. Coming back to the application, 2 of these are live projection. So we are never really storing the projection itself in the database. So if I list the relations again, there is no document storage for P1 or P2. However, you do have the option to store these as a document because, well, sometimes you get a lot of events, you want a single document, you can have it. Let's take a look at how this will look like. We will create a P3 just as an exercise here, and it will look exactly the same as P1. However, let's go ahead and make it handle update shipping information as well. We are working with P3, nearly grabbed the wrong method, so update shipping information. There's the event, and let's just say string phone number to the phone number goes the phone number. Okay, this is P3, a self-aggregating projection. I want this to be automatically created in the background and saved to the database, and I want to be able to query it. So in here, let's just say we're gonna go to P3. Instead of aggregating events, let's just go ahead and load a sync P3 for this GUID. What I will need to do for this to work, if I try to do this now, so let's go ahead and try to query for P3, we're not gonna find anything. It's just going to be null. If we come back around here, we will see a table get created for this. This is just the natural order for which things happen. You write an event, a projection then gets created and saved to the database. We have already written our events. We have now created a projection to exist. We haven't ran new events through it in order to be created, and we haven't specified at which point it gets created. So let's take a look at a couple of strategies. Here we can add a new projection, which is going to be P3. And this is a self-aggregating projection. So on here, I think you will need to say self or projections self-aggregate P3. And you need to specify at which time does it get built. So projection lifecycle, you get asynchronous, inline, and live. Hopefully you can kind of guess what these mean. Live, you can only aggregate stream, so you always get the up-to-date version. For inline, as you say, save async, at the same time your projection gets built and saved to the database as well. Asynchronous means first you write the events and then at some point later your projection will be built. And asynchronous projection are using a hosted service that is running in the background. For this, let's go ahead and choose asynchronous. Just at some point in the background, we are gonna build up this P3. So we'll come back here. We have registered this as a projection. However, the projection is still not there. And Marten gives you the option of rebuilding projections. So let's go ahead and do that. Actually, you will need the iDocument session or probably even document store. We will create a rebuild method, document store, call this store. We will remove about all of this. And by the way, this is just a demo of rebuilding projections. You can probably do it in a production application, I'm not sure, but there is a command line which you can run, which will do the rebuilding of projections for you. But this is just an example of the functionality that is being exposed to you. Here we want to build a projection daemon async. If you're familiar with the word daemon, it's kind of the runtime, it's the engine that's running. So Docker daemon, it's the engine, essentially the projection engine. So we build a engine for running projections. We then go ahead and tell it, yo dude, rebuild this P3 projection, cancellation token none, and this is an asynchronous method, so we're just saying just go ahead and rebuild this projection. Now that this is done, let's just change the method to rebuild, and then we'll call a rebuild. Looks like there is an error with the application. Let's give it a quick restart. I'm not sure, I don't think I have any compilation errors here. See the same error again, and that's a warning. I guess it doesn't know if this is from services. It looks like that's feeling better now. Let's go ahead and rerun this. And looks like there is no such service. And I think I wanted the iDocument store. Okay, so let's remove that from services tag. Looks like that's fine as well. Looks like from all of these errors there's like some kind of duplicate key maybe when I started reading it. Select all from, let's check what we have in here. Looks like it's worked fine. Not sure what those errors were about, but here is now the brand new rebuilt projection. So if later down the line, you know, you're building up your application, you need to change what your projection is going to look like, you add the new fields, you remove something, you change the logic, you just rebuild your projection, and everything works fine. Again, these are asynchronous. You take it as a separate process, your application gets deployed, and things update. Now let's take a look at a cross-stream projection. In addition to all of these projections, we can add a couple of more. Let's push all of this down. We'll create a public record created post. So we're going to create some kind of post with a title, and then we are going to comment it, okay, with some kind of content. Now all of these things a user is doing. So we're going to create an interface, user event, and this is going to have a property of GUID ID, or let's say rather user ID. We can say init here to, you know, fit the record format. We will then take this GUID. I can do this. Bam. So two different streams, the commented as in creating a comment. You can have replies, likes on a comment. So, you know, comment is its own stream, a comment section is its own stream, a post is its own stream, everything's its own stream. We are gonna go and grab one of these gets, we'll put it on the bottom here, and we're gonna call this post. We're gonna start a couple of streams. We will start a created post. This will be post 1. Let's remove the comma on the end here, remove the result. And then we're gonna start another stream. This is gonna be post 2. And for all of this, we'll actually need a user as well. And let's just make sure that we comment it as well. So yes, we're then gonna create a user ID, a use ID, okay, close enough. GUID, new GUID, we'll take use ID, just place it over here. And actually inside the event, just like that. So we start 3 new streams. If you can think of 3 columns, we now want to merge the 3 columns into a single projection once we create this. And I'm not going to call this straight away. I'm going to use the inline projection for this new projection, or for this multi-projection. Let's create a public class user summary. And this is going to be a multi-stream aggregation, and just as a projector, this is its own thing. So let me just remove projector here. We are multi-stream projecting a user summary, and we're depending on a GUID. In the constructor, you want to say, what am I looking in events in order to fit them into this projector? For this, you have to use identity, and here you will be using your interface, user event, where you're gonna select what is the property that you're depending on. Okay, so if something implements a common interface and you want to bunch them all into the same projection, this is what you do. Now all you have to do is, well, handle these events into this projection, and that's gonna be pretty much it. And there we have it. So just all the posts, all the comments, I'm just adding the title and the content again. As you have your own app and you have your own needs, use it appropriately. But this is the summary, this is the projector, same as with the previous projector. Come all the way to the top. We want to add a user summary, or rather, sorry, the projector is what we're doing here. We're just going to do inline. So as soon as we as soon as we call save changes here, at the same time we are going to update the projection and save it to the database. I will also spit out the user ID here just so I can, well, query with it later. I will put this over here. I will say sum. I can't spell all of it, so GUID. So sum for a GUID we're gonna get a user summary for this specific GUID. And again, load async because it is a projector that is projecting it to a document at the time of saving. We will just be able to query the document. And again, because it's Marten, all the tables, all this stuff will be automatically created for you. Let's come back to our application here. Well, I don't know if I can call it application, but let's go ahead and post. And that's my mistake, haven't actually added the ID to the user summary. So prop GUID ID. I don't think the actual events have been written to the database, so let's select everything from empty events. All drop down all the way to the bottom. And actually, no, we did create them. It just looks like the projection wouldn't have been created. So let's list relations, user summary. That's there. Select all from a user summary. And that's there because automatically in the background this reloaded. Okay, so never mind, the thing is now created. Don't forget to specify IDs on your projections. I'm not remaking this video just because stuff happened in the background. So anyway, we want to try to get this projection now from the summary. Let's go ahead, place it here, and there we go. So multi-stream projections, again, all the previous stuff that you've seen work with the documents. You can do the same thing with these documents, batch querying, etc. I think this is pretty much all I have for you in terms of Marten and event sourcing. Again, amazing library. I've been enjoying using it, and I think you will too as well. I think every .NET developer needs to try this library. If you tried it out, tell me what you think in the comments. If you have any questions, leave it in the comment section as well. Don't forget to like, subscribe. If you are supporting me on Patreon, I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. If you're not, please consider it. Don't forget to join my Discord server. Check out all the links in the description, and have a good day.